Here we go. All right. YouTube is saying we're live, so I'm gonna assume that we're live.
Okay.
Yeah, it is Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is 6:30 p.m. Pacific Coast Standard Time. That means I said it's Monday, right? Okay, we're off to a swimming start. It's your weekly Calamity Jane live stream, everybody. This is Eric and James. James, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there, hanging in there. We were talking right before we went live. My body is hurting a little bit because I'm going back to the gym finally after so long, and but it's a good hurt, you know. It's that kind of hurt that means that something good will come from it later. At least that's what I tell myself. I almost believe it too, even.
Well, I applaud your efforts in going back into the gym and finding a way to, you know, if anything, relieve stress and get your body back to, um, humming condition, I guess, or whatever you want to call it.
Honestly, it's the stress. Like, I mean, obviously, yeah, I don't want to be lounging around doing nothing, but I mean, you always hear everybody say exercise is the best cure for depression and that kind of stuff, but boy,
Hmm.
howdy, is it true. Just getting out there and moving around a little bit, it really makes a difference. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate. My wife has this elliptical machine that she bought a couple years back, so I've been using that, and I use it a
yeah.
couple times a week. And I feel a difference if I don't exercise for a couple of days in a row, and I just kind of decide to just be a lazy bum.
Yeah.
I'll feel it. So it's always good to kind of get back onto it. Whatever your regimen is, try to make a regimen and keep at it. So it's
Oh
good,
yeah,
man.
big time. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, all of you viewers out there, yeah,
Wow, you even got the pointing
I
finger
got the
from
pointing
Eric.
finger.
So
That's how
I
indignant
always
I
I
am
always
about
keep my
this.
pointing finger in the holster. I try not to use it, but Eric uses it
Oh,
first.
I'm a freewheeler. I am an absolute
Yeah,
freewheeler with the pointed
yeah,
finger. You
yeah.
can't go wrong with judgment. That's actually not true at all. In any case, okay, that was there we go. We got our banter. We're warmed up. The monologue at the top of the show, so to speak,
Yeah.
it's has been. Let's get to our first guest, James. Welcome to the show.
I always feel like I need to have an instrument or something and kind of play along or something, and you could be the host, in a
Yeah,
way.
there we go. Like, yeah, yeah, exactly. You can be my Paul Schaefer or
Yeah,
Max Weinberg or something.
yeah, yeah. But for this week, I know we've been doing 3D for the. Oh, I might as well go into share screen mode.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I think you set up. I shouldn't have to do anything.
yeah. Okay. So, anyways, yeah. I wanted to go back into 2D for a little bit, just because. Well, why not? And my 3D skills are still pretty, not that great, especially compared to
What are
last week.
you
So.
talking about? I have seen indie games with lower graphics fidelity than what you've
Well,
been
thanks for
producing.
the kudos, but I, I'm also trying to
I don't
consider
know. Like, I don't know if that was a burn on you or indie games. Like,
no,
I
I'll
can't.
take that as a compliment. Sure, I'll
Oh,
take
okay. All right.
anything
You'll take it as a
because
compliment, and then okay, great. Okay.
yeah, because I'm at ground zero when it comes to 3D. But I am happy with some progress I've made. But I think for sparing the viewers any kind of torture, and me kind of fumbling through controls, I need to get a little more familiar with it before we stream too much more. I mean, I'm okay with it, but there was times when I just like, oh man, I mean, it's not as interesting to me.
Hmm.
And if there's any viewer, if to our ones of viewers out there, if you feel differently, let us know in the comments or something, I guess. But um, I feel like 2D is a little more organic, and it feels a little more instantaneous to kind of see something that's being built right off the bat, and not have this weird, obtuse kind of gray environment that my weapon of choice is Blender these days, where you're pushing around with points and chicken cage wiring and stuff like that. I don't know. You were a viewer by default, Eric, so I mean you can kind of chime in right off the bat. No comment needed.
I do feel that watching 2D art being developed tends to be a little bit more interesting than 3D art. Although sometimes it's fun when you're dealing with like high poly um, modeling, like in apps, programs like ZBrush or other things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature, where you're literally almost working from uh, a virtual piece of clay and you're molding,
Yep.
you're sculpting something virtually. That's pretty cool, actually. And another thing I've seen, which I think it's still somewhat rudimentary, but nonetheless pretty cool, is one of the few applications of VR that I'm actually like, oh, that I see value in. Is there's an app that you can use that actually you can model in 3D space, and you
Mm-hmm.
use the gun controllers or whatever they're called,
Yep.
to sort of model in space, and that's pretty cool. I've seen projections of that on YouTube and things like that. I can't really use VR because my vision is so bad.
Yeah, I actually get motion sickness when it comes to virtual reality stuff. I love
Yeah,
it as a technology and the software and stuff, but unfortunately, I just I've wanted to dabble in doing 3D virtual sculpting for a while, but based on my experience with doing virtual roller coasters, I get too queasy, so I haven't really ventured out into that
yeah.
frontier to kind of see what it's like. But yeah, it's intriguing for sure. It's pretty exciting. Exciting times we live
It
in.
is interesting though. Like I can't really watch I can't really use VR because my vision is so bad, and you can't use VR because you've got so much motion sickness. It's like what is it's weird because under normal circumstances you'd think that we would be the ideal audience, but factors of our biology that we can't control makes it so that we can't utilize this technology.
Hmm.
It's
Uh,
pretty interesting.
your vision? Do you need to wear like you have to wait for some sort of contraption that comes out that lets you wear your normal vision, your glasses
So,
underneath the
yeah,
actual?
so most VR, and maybe I haven't used a VR headset in years, so maybe this has changed. But most VR headsets that I've used, they basically enclose your face really tightly, and glasses get really squished and uncomfortable inside the headset. And so while you kind of can force the glasses in there, it's not ideal. And so they oftentimes recommend that you just take your glasses off. But the problem is my vision is so bad that I just don't like. I think it was Oculus that I was using, and there's like a focal length slider that changes where the focus point is on the lenses.
Hmm.
And I put it on, and I went, yeah, I can't. It's totally blurry to me. And the guy who was demoing it to me said, okay, hold on. And he slid the slider all the way to the other side. And I said, that didn't make a difference to me. It still looks
Wow,
completely blurry.
damn, that's a bad sign. He was
So
probably pretty bummed too. I'm imagining, like, oh well, that demo failed.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. So yeah, I have largely given up on virtual reality. Now, AR, augmented reality, is something that I am still interested in. I have a couple of friends who work on Hololens over at Microsoft, and the thing about Hololens is it actually sits out in front of your face. There's no need for you to be enclosed in blackness, right?
Oh,
Because you're not looking at a screen, you've got a screen filter over reality, right?
huh.
And so its monitor sits a little bit over in front of you, and it continues to get smaller and smaller with late additional revisions. And so I can actually wear Hololens and look at that, and it's actually, I mean, I think augmented reality, frankly, is where it's at. I think virtual reality is a non-starter because it's too isolating.
Yes, I'm with you there. If I had a choice to which technology I love to see evolved, it'd be AR,
Yeah,
augmented reality for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Because at least
So
it gives your eyes a chance to rest and actually look at something in real around you,
hmm
and then you can go back to anything that's digital
yeah,
or
and it solves the problem of motion sickness completely because reality is still your anchor point, right?
yeah.
You're not isolated completely to just this screen. It's augmenting on top of things that you already recognize are being physically in the space.
I'm kind of, and I might be out of it a little bit as far as the technology is concerned, but I'm surprised there hasn't been more augmented reality type apps and hasn't taken off more than it has. I mean, the only thing I ever see augmented reality for, and this is only for my daily life, is using Pokemon Go, and I have it off because I just don't want to use it. Like,
Right,
why? It makes Pokemon Go more difficult for
right,
me.
right.
But I'm surprised it hasn't taken off more for other people. It
I mean,
seems more accessible.
yeah, I'm sure it will. You continue to see it grow a little bit. and a little bit, but it's still one of those kind of bleeding edge technologies where only rich people can use it for the most part.
It's because
Um,
the tech is too expensive.
it's just so expensive. Yeah. I mean, like for the full Hololens thing, I think it's just way too expensive. I mean, you get samples of it through your phone with like Pokemon Go and other types of that, but the
Yeah.
full experience like that Hololens promises, which I think is the most compelling, I think is still prohibitively expensive, and I still think the technology is relatively primitive to what it needs to be.
Hmm.
But I think the promise of what HoloLens is trying to do is really exciting. And I mean, this is coming from someone who is loath to compliment Microsoft on anything.
I think you're not in the minority there. I think a lot of people are always shaking their fist to the heavens at Microsoft or
Yeah,
something.
that's true. That is true. But nonetheless, HoloLens is pretty exciting, even as a just a theoretical concept. But so in any case, who are you drawing
Oh, back to
tonight?
yeah,
Yeah, like actually getting
game
on
stuff.
topic. This is like literally the worst talk show ever.
I'm actually happy with our stream of consciousness stuff today.
That was an
It's
interesting topic for
refreshing.
sure.
Um, I am working on. Let me bring up the folder again. I'm going to be working on Wanda and Molly.
Okay.
So this is Wanda right now, and I think I've called her different things, different names before. Wanda's name has changed. I don't. So maybe you can recall what I've called her in the past because my memory's sort of shoddy right now.
Ugh, I'm going to admit that I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
but
know I remember you telling me their names, and I do not remember what their names are.
yeah, I have the file name listed as Wanda and Molly, as we can all see. So
I think that's
Wanda,
what it is.
yeah. So that's what I'm going with. There's Wanda here on the left side, and that's Molly on the right side. There are a couple that live in Dry Gulp Gorge. As I was working on them, though, I noticed that in my more recent group shots, they do have a baby. So let me open that up as
Oh,
well.
wow, when did that happen?
Well, I kind of want to have the whole thing with, like in the symptoms, there's always that lady that's always going, "What about the
What are the
children?"
children?
kind of thing,
Is
right?
is is Molly the what about the children lady?
Well, it could be her, or it could be somebody else that's always referring to the baby. Oh, it's the baby. I don't know. But there's some other directions we can go with this too, and here we go. With more weirdness, but we
No.
could have the baby obscured, and we could go more of a like maybe these two are from a different dimension, and they're harboring some sort of space baby that's hidden in swaddling clothes, and
Maybe it is a
yeah,
space
it was
baby.
at you.
Yeah, maybe.
Just
Oh
randomly
God.
throwing it at you like a dartboard. Boom! Right
Oh,
at you, Eric.
what is it? What if it's the Star Baby from 2001: A Space Odyssey, the Star
It could
Child?
be, could be the Star Baby.
And then like
So
it
Sam
always has like a blue glowing aura around it or something like that, right?
could be,
Just get
but
real
so
meta with it.
so I'm throwing it into the pot now,
Sounds good to me.
and you can stew on, or it could just be a good old fashioned just
It
baby.
could also be a regular baby. Yeah,
Yes, I mean you
I
can't go
guess.
wrong with babies. They're so cute. I mean you can't. Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
Well, okay. Well, I find it cute. Um, and unlike the Microsoft bashing, you might be in the minority on that.
I
And
probably am in the minority on that one.
yeah, but yeah. But I thought they're like the closest thing to a family unit in Dry Gulp Gorge,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. But I mean, what is our definition of a family anyway in Dry Gulp Gorge? It could be. I mean, maybe these guys all are roommates. Maybe they're a family. I don't know. I mean, we're
I
kind of making that up as we go too.
I mean, this is not official by any stretch of the imagination, but in the back of my mind, I've always kind of envisioned Dry Gulp Gorge as a crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's an interdimensional crossroads or literally just a crossroads on whatever planet Dry Gulp Gorge exists on, but it is a crossroads of sorts, and so there's a lot of wanderers, and the reason why I imagine it being a crossroads is because the rogues gallery is so weird and all the different characters are so weird. By making it a crossroad, it makes sense for there to be all of this strangeness going on at all times around it.
Yeah.
Sort of a little bit. I mean, like there's a thousand different versions of this. You can go Green Lantern, right, and why Earth was so important. Why there's like 5 lanterns from Earth. It's because Earth is at this weird nexus point in the 52 dimensions, right? Or less comic book geeky. You can go more traditional literature geeky with Douglas Adams, and Earth in Douglas Adams' universe is at a bizarre plurality in the in interdimensional space, right? But regardless, Dry Gulp Gorge being at a crossroads allows it to be as weird as we want it to be.
Wait. Let's hold up for a second. You said Douglas Adams. You're gonna have to educate me. I'm not familiar with Douglas Adams.
Well, you may not know the author's name, but you certainly have at least heard of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, okay. There. Now I'm caught up with you again.
Yeah.
Normally, when we're nerding on stuff, like I'm usually, we can throw things at each other, and we pretty much know.
Yeah.
But in this case, I did not know the author, but yes, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the whole series is amongst my favorite books ever, like top 5 easily. And I tend to, even though it's technically 5 books, I will read all 5 of them back to back to back once every couple of years or so. In fact, I just read the whole series in 2015, or not 2018, so not that long ago. I'm actually due for another reading.
There's only 5 books?
Yeah, there's 5. I hate when they do this. They get the rights to an author's name, and then they'll posthumously write another entry. Like Tom Clancy and Michael Crichton are 2 of the worst offenders. And I know James Patterson, he hasn't written a book in like a decade, right? It's all just people who emulate his style.
Yeah.
And so they did this posthumously years after Douglas Adams died. They tried to write a 6th book, and I remember reading the first chapter of it and went, nope, not happening.
Was your hypersensitive critic meter on to say, is this?
Oh yeah. There was no way. There was no way I was going to be able to go into that as just a casual fan wanting more Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like, I was like, how closely are you modeling Douglas Adams' voice here? And the answer was not at all. Although the author clearly was trying and failing at every level.
So has that author done anything else, or maybe they published under a pseudonym or something?
I didn't even bother. Well, I mean, they didn't. They published it under the new guy's name. They didn't try to claim that it was written by Douglas Adams, which I give them credit for, right?
Okay.
But they did like with Tom Clancy's books. Like, I don't know if you've seen a Tom Clancy book on bookshelves recently, but it's the funniest thing you'll ever see. It's Tom Clancy is the biggest set of words on the front cover, and then about half as large as Tom Clancy is the title of the book. And then 1/3 as large of that is the actual author of the book. It's hilarious looking at that.
I mean, but that shows how much of a following Tom Clancy has, I guess.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, like they know their audience. They know who to market to. I mean, the people who read those books at this point, they're not reading literature. They want the next Tom Clancy potboiler, right? And so they see Tom Clancy, and it tells them everything they want to know about the book that they're reading. And that's fine. Yeah. Like, I mean, I make fun of it because I'm kind of making fun of it, but I understand the marketing logic behind it, And if that's what you want to read, more power to you,
Yeah, I mean, I think when you kind of get caught up in a universe and you want to just have more, and you, I think as a fan, you'll be willing to, overlook some things, I guess, to stay in that universe for a little bit. I mean, yeah. I guess. I mean, it kind of comes down to, I think comic books are a good example of this. Like, Stan Lee and Ditko made Spider-Man, but other people have taken it over and did their own interpretations of it. But I think there's always an implication that the brand Spider-Man is what this content's about, and it's not about, the writers are just doing their take on whatever story or whatever life thing's going on with them, right? I mean,
yeah, sure. No, I totally agree.
So how do you walk that fine line where somebody could say, I'm writing something for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but you gotta, if you want to write for Spider-Man, I don't know, maybe because the medium was so new and people didn't have high expectations for it, especially now. somebody's following Stan Lee, I'm like, nah, nobody's going to worry about following Stan Lee because Stan Lee was relatively nobody. He
Right.
wrote that story, right, for X amount of years or months or whatever, and next guy took over and nobody cared, nobody blinked because Spider-Man was in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, how do you? But then there's that the cult following part of it kind of comes into play, and then what do you do? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like
No, I
what
think you're right. Yeah, I mean, I think even after Stanley left Marvel and in any official creative capacity, that still said Stan Lee presents.
yeah,
Right. So it's
I mean,
exactly the same thing.
yeah, and I think more than anything, at least for me as a fan, I mean, I don't read comic books nearly as much anymore. I mean, I
Yeah.
just casually will read them here and there, but like I think it's more of a security blanket. Oh, Stan Lee's still here, kind of in a
Uh-huh.
weird way, sort of like this weird father figure kind of thing. For me as a fan. So maybe
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's what they do for other fans. It does the same thing for other fans, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I know, and we've talked about this, and maybe you don't even remember, but like if I were to ever somehow become in charge of a book
Mm-hmm.
that featured a new character of some form, I would absolutely I would start putting a ticking clock on the character.
Yeah, we have talked about this before.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
if we meet the character when they're 30 years old, then they will their arc every year they will be a year older, right? And their
yeah,
stories will necessarily change to reflect their age, up into the point where it doesn't make sense for them to do what they're doing anymore.
yeah.
And then they
I
retired, whether they die or they just, drive off into the sunset.
Yep. I'm with you on that. I like that idea a lot. I would want to do the same thing. I think it's the only thing really left, at least in the medium of comic books, um, to do is to introduce time and make characters old, and try not to milk them too long. But again, maybe it is being done as we speak, and somebody's already done it, or I've been out of the loop, so maybe it's been done for 10 years. And I don't know.
Yeah, I
Somebody,
know, exactly. I don't really read that many comics anymore. It's sort of drifted off. Like, I will, it's too expensive, one.
yeah,
And two, it's easier to just kind of once every couple of years to Google what the most popular storylines of whatever books are out there or what people are saying are great, and then just picking up the trades, right? And then you can just
yeah,
sort of binge them rather than having to wait on a monthly basis.
yeah, yeah. All true. I mean, I kind of do that now too. I'll actually go on whatever website and just find out what the latest things happening with the Hulk or something, and that's all I
Mm-hmm.
need is a paragraph.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
and then if the storyline actually sounds or seems interesting, then you can read into it a little bit more. I know I was looking for a new Batman to read, and I had heard all about the Court of Owls,
mhm.
and so I did some research, and it actually wasn't that good. Like the idea I thought was really good, but I just didn't think the writing was that good,
Hmm.
so I didn't bother continuing to pursue it.
I was watching some YouTuber a couple days ago, and he was asking like what the latest Batman villain was, and somebody came up with um, the Court of Owls. Talon, I think was his name,
Talon. Mm-hmm.
is the most recent Batman villain. I don't know. I'm out of the loop. I don't know whether there's a new one even beyond that, but I think
So
that is probably Hush. I don't know.
yeah, what I know of it is a Talon is actually sort of a trained assassin for the Court of Owls.
Oh, so there's a multiplicity. Like they're a bunch of ninja type characters, huh?
Yes, like they're sort of like
Oh,
the League of Assassins or whatever, the League of Shadows, whatever. I don't remember which one is the comic book version, which one is the Batman Begins version. But that being said, there is a Talon who is better than the rest and actually claims to be Bruce Wayne's long lost younger brother or older brother. I don't remember.
wait. Let's rewind it. You said wait. There's a talent assassin that claims to be Bruce Wayne's brother.
Yeah, that's right. Now I don't.
One talent, out of all the many, there's one of them.
There's only there's like there are multiple Talons, but there is one that shows up over and over again, who's like the best of them,
Oh,
and
okay.
that one, of course, claims to be Bruce Wayne's brother.
So how many years ago did you read this particular
I
story?
literally just started looking into this a couple of weeks ago. That's why it's so
Oh,
fresh in my head.
okay. Well, I might have to bug you and see in a couple of weeks if you finish this storyline to find
Yeah,
out because I don't want to
I
read.
think I think that main storyline is done because it was compiled in like it was like the Court of Owls, and then volume 2 is the City of Owls, and then I think there was a third volume, and I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
So I love this character. I just want to go back to the art that you're doing. I really love the design of this character so far.
Cool. This is all. Thanks. This is all just exploration stuff right now. I'm trying to get a feel. So with all my character, I do this. So obviously we don't do this on our chat and our streams all that much. But whenever I'm making a new character, I like to kind of spend time with them, like kind of draw a couple of different poses of them, some different expressions of them, and kind of. I don't want to sound vampiric, but I want to live in their skin as a character.
No. I know what you mean exactly. Yeah.
In our first episode, they're not in it for. I mean, they have they're
a couple of frames,
characters, right? I mean, we've talked about this before too, but I want to have a sense of their soul a little bit for if we ever get a chance to explore one of them. Like we already have a backdrop. Like I can have dialogue with you, or you can have it too, about what their daily life's like. What's their favorite food like? I like to know that type of stuff about each character.
Well, I like the idea of there being a won't somebody think of the children's style character in Dry Gulp Gorge, because this is who would want to raise a child in Dry Gulp Gorge? I mean, it's just utter chaos.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But again, like you were saying, like this is a crossroads place where you don't know how they ended up there, and now they just got a deal, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I would submit that there are even some characters who don't even know how they got there.
Yeah.
And they just settled because it's sort of almost like that episode. It was, I can't remember if it was a Merry Melodies or Looney Tunes or a Hanna-Barbera or what, but it was in the early, it was done in the 50s, so you can understand the context, but it's about a guy who gets trapped on an interchange on a new interstate overpass, and he ends up just driving around in circles in perpetuity forever. And there's only one other character in the cartoon who sells hamburgers, right? And
wait, and this is in, you said this is in what was this in?
It was in the 1950s, and it was like one of these, it was an animated short, like a Looney Tunes short.
Okay.
Or Hanna-Barbera. I don't remember who produced it. What animation house produced it. But you would see it on the afternoon cartoons, right? Whenever Cartoon Network back when I was a kid would show Looney Tunes, this cartoon would show up from time to time. And I love that blue. I think that blue's perfect.
I'm just throwing things out there right now.
I love highlights like that. I think that's great. But in any case, so he drives around the interchange. He keeps driving by the same hamburger stand, and he just cannot get off the interstate. And then the gag at the end of the cartoon is he gives up trying to get off the interstate, and he opens up a hot dog stand.
That's pretty funny.
And it's sort of like that. Like, no matter how hard you try to escape Dry Gulp Gorge, you can't. Like, you're stuck there.
Yeah. I like that. I like that comparison a lot. I think it's well, for one, it keeps us grounded in just that square mile radius of Dry Gulp Gorge, and not trying to get too big for our britches or whatever the phrase you want to use. That's good. But yeah, I think that's a good analogy to use to that. I mean, that's cool.
Well, we're at a half hour. And it was really interesting to watch a white screen turn into a really, really compelling looking character.
I think Wanda's coming along as far as in my head.
Yeah.
And again, we'll maybe next week I'll follow up and we'll do
Molly.
I'll do Molly I'm curious, like how I don't know. There's two ways we can go. I can go Molly. Or I can go Wanda and do her in animate, and then just finish her up and make her a character, just like I did with the Crocs, or or any of the other guys that I've done so far. Right. I still have John Boy to work on. Anyway, but we can discuss.
What I say, viewers will have to tune in next week to find out what we decide. Oh,
there's a cliffhanger for you.
There we go. We've got ourselves a good old fashioned art cliffhanger. In any case, so I'm gonna wrap it up. But this is great. We got to talk about random stuff and
Yeah, it's
saw a
awesome.
cool character come to life right before our eyes. As always, you can find us on Patreon. Just check out Calamity Jane. Or go to calamityjane.rocks. It'll redirect you right to Patreon. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube and all of the things. Just search for Calamity Jane Adventure Hour. And other than that, I think we're pretty much done for the night. So good night, everybody.
Good night. Stay safe. All that stuff. Till next time.
Absolutely. Good night.